Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Blackjack. Today I am going to be doing a deck tech for you guys. If you're interested in having me put a deck together for you or help you tweak a current deck list, I'm looking for any of the 5 metrics in the comment section. A bracket, a budget, a commander, a theme, and any pet cards you have. So please, if you're interested in having me put a deck together for you, leave it down below and I'll get a video out. Today, we are giving some love to Mono Red, some love to Chandra. This is Oops All Chandras. That's a bit of a misleading title. We don't have quite all of them. I looked through all of them that were ever printed, and I originally started with them all in here. However, there are some that sadly are just unplayable, so I ended up cutting them. But the commander at the helm here is Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh. Whenever you cast a red spell, you get to untap her, and then you can tap her to deal 1 damage to a player. If this has dealt 3 or more damage this turn, exile her and then return her transformed. Here's her flip side. She can plus to deal damage, she can minus to hit creatures, and then her ultimate can deal a bunch of damage to an opponent. And then you also get an emblem. So, this is a super relaxed, have fun, bracket 2 deck. Don't bring this to a bracket 3 table, a bracket 4 table. You're probably not going to have a good time. But if you're just looking to do something with your hands while you're, shooting it with your friends at the table, having some fun, just talking, having that conversation, but you still want to actively play the game and play a deck that you've probably never seen before, you've never played anything like it, this is a good excuse to try something new. So, we have 15 Chandras here, 16 including our commander. I'm not going to go over each one individually, but I do want to note pretty much the premise of what we're trying to do here. So, I picked these Chandras specifically for a couple of reasons. I either wanted them to generate mana, I wanted them to get us looks at new cards, whether that be exiling the top card of our library or the top 3 cards of our library, something along those lines. Or I wanted them to be able to do damage to players or creatures. So that is pretty much in line with almost every Chandra ever printed, but there are some higher cost, like 4 to 6 mana ones that don't do quite enough for this deck. So these are the ones that I elected to play. I'll let you kind of just take a look at them. Nothing crazy. Creatures, we only have 10. We're not playing too many. The whole idea of this deck is have multiple Chandras out, activate them all, and just have a good time. So the creatures that we're playing are helping that in some way. We have Chandra's Incinerator, which can cost less based on the amount of non-combat damage that was dealt. And then it also increases damage whenever a source deals non-combat damage to a player. So this can be cost reduced by a significant margin with your Chandras activating, and then it can also allow them to deal more damage. Chandra's Phoenix is a flavor win for me. Haste, flying, 2/2, not extremely powerful, to be honest. You're probably better served as holding it back as a blocker for your army of Chandras. But if it does get killed, and it will, whenever you deal instant or sorcery damage or damage by a planeswalker, you get it from your graveyard to your hand. So it's basically a never-ending piece of advantage for you. Defiler of Instinct can turn all of your red pips in your deck to Phyrexian red, which means you can pay 2 life instead of 1 red mana for all of their costs. This is going to be extremely powerful in this deck. You're going to be able to cost reduce a lot of these Chandras by 2 mana, if not more. Being able to get something out like this Chandra, Acolyte of Flame, for 1 colorless mana and 4 life is very, very good. Jaya's Phoenix, so it helps with planeswalkers. Whenever you cast one, you can return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. So again, it's a never-ending engine. And then when it deals combat damage, you get to copy the next loyalty ability you activate. Neheb is going to give you mana for the life that you deal. Osier is going to increase the amount of damage. So anytime you deal damage less than Ozier's power, it's going to come out to Ozier's power. So if you hypothetically deal 1 damage to something, Ozier's going to turn it to 4. Runaway Steamkin. This is a really good card at actually accelerating your mana long term. So it's one thing to play like a one-off ritual type effect, but Steamkin is going to give you that effect 2 or 3 times over the course of the game if you get it out early, and that's really good in mono red, where obviously we're lacking the ability to get a lot of mana, and we're lacking the ability to draw a lot of cards. Silent Arbiter. I love this card. It's in one of my other decks, and its ability is just really good here. No more than 1 creature can attack, no more than 1 creature can block. So this is a way to gum up the ground. This is a way to buy us time so we can work our planeswalkers up their loyalty. Sulfim is going to increase the amount of damage, double the damage whenever you would deal non-combat damage. So this is another way to just increase the damage that Chandra's doing. Torbrand's doing the exact same thing. He's just adding +2 to all of the damage that you're dealing. So we're not very afraid to wipe the board. We only play a couple of creatures, so we're playing a lot of cheap board wipes. That's one thing that red is really good at. You're looking at Anger of the Gods, Blasphemous Act, Chain Reaction, Fiery Confluence, Mizium Warders, all ways to keep the ground clear and keep our Chandras safe. Light Up the Stage is a little bit of card advantage. You just get to exile the next 2 for 1 red mana and then play those cards. Mana Geyser could be a one-off effect into the mid to late game, generating between, hypothetically 7 and 12 mana, allowing us to cast like 2 big spells in one go is going to be extremely powerful. Vandal Blast, probably the best way to deal with artifacts in all of Commander, and in mono red it's hard not to play it. Finally, Wheel of Misfortune. So again, I would say the big downfall to a mono red deck is its ability to draw cards and its ability to generate mana. Obviously, generating mana with Mana Geyser and Pyretic Ritual, Seething Saw, and all those things can be really good, but they are only one-off effects. I want to be able to do those things over the long term. So Wheel of Misfortune, you're almost always going to be trying to pay what you consider to be the most amount of life, so you can guarantee get that fresh hand. Instance, Ghostfire Slice, always going to be pretty much 1 red mana, dealing 4 damage. Return the Favor, Reverberate, Tibalt's Trickery are all, in essence, to counterspell things. So if somebody is looking to kill one of your Chandras, or somebody is looking to counter one of your spells, you can essentially counter them back with these abilities. Valakut Awakening is another discard and draw. Or, sorry, you don't discard, you put them on the bottom, but effectively the same thing. So Ramp's going to be really important here. Even though our commander only costs 3, a lot of the planeswalkers are 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Getting from that 2 to 4 mark is going to be extremely important. So let's just go over the ramp really quick. We have Arcane Signet, Cold Steel Heart, Ebony Fly, Chalice, Felwar Stone, Fire Diamond, Mind Stone, Soul Ring, Star Compass. So that's technically 9, but we also have Staff of Completion, Ruby Medallion, and Nyx Lotus. So I would say it's a very soft 12, but Staff of Completion is multifaceted. It can add mana, it can proliferate, it can also draw cards, and it's an outlet for extra mana in the late game. So it's great here for proliferating multiple planeswalkers. Nyx Lotus, coming down on 4 mana is not the greatest thing ever. That is expensive, but I do foresee a world where you're going to be generating anywhere from 4 to 6 mana every time you tap this, and after 2 turns it's going to be paying in dividends. Chain Veil is a great way to double up on all of our Planeswalker activations. Ensnaring Bridge is another way for us to buy time. So more often than not, a lot of our card draw is things that exile off the top and allow us to play them until the end of turn, but they don't actually go to our hand. So more often than not, our hand's going to actually be pretty much at 0 probably. So Ensnaring Bridge is going to just lock up the board and make sure nobody can attack. Endless Atlas will allow us to draw a card every turn of the game that we have 2 extra mana because we are playing a ton of basic mountains. Chandra's Regulator, allowing you to pay 1 to copy loyalty abilities. And then we do finally have Contagion Clasp and Contagion Engine, both ways to deal with creatures on the battlefield and then allow us to proliferate our planeswalkers. Enchantments, Blood Moon for a little bit of free rolling hate. We don't play many non-basics, so anything that we can get out on the board like this that kind of messes with the traditional game plan of what most people are trying to do in Commander and buy us more time is going to be really good. So we've gone over Blood Moon, Silent Arbiter, Ensnaring Bridge. Another really good one is Smoke. So this says no player may untap more than 1 creature during their untap phase. Another way to just kind of mess with the traditional game plan of Magic and buy us time. Count on Luck, another exile to the top effect every turn, so it's essentially card draw here. Valakut Exploration is landfall, exile to the top, play that again. And then Oath of Chandra, so it deals 3 damage to a creature and then add an end step. If a planeswalker entered, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So ideally, consistently, every turn or every other turn, you're going to be deploying a Chandra and kind of getting some free roll damage from that. Lands, super simple. I wouldn't say much of this is extremely necessary. Karn's Bastion is essentially a free roll for proliferation. Carekeep can pretty cheaply make blockers. Myriad Landscape I always play in non-green decks, just as a little bit of ramp. Temple of the False God, kind of the same thing. Valakut eventually is going to just become every time you play a mountain, you get to Lightning Bolt. War Room is great card draw in monocolor decks. Reliquary Tower, definitely not necessary. I'm really just free rolling it here, but more often than not, this is not going to come up. Terrain Generator is going to be another great way to get advantage over the course of a long game and allow us to try to stay at parity with mana ramping decks. Finally, far and away the best land in here, Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, is essentially another Nyx Lotus, but it's on a land, so it's much safer. Overall, this deck is... there's not a ton to it. It's easygoing. It's here to have fun. It's a different take on Commander. I've never seen anyone play anything like this, and I just think it's always interesting when someone comes to the table with something homebrewed and is not your traditional EDH rec top commanders over the past 2 years, and they're just picking, you know, something 1 through 20 and putting together a strong version of it. This is just have fun with your friends if you've already gotten a win in for the night, but you still want to do something with your hands. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, please, if you're interested in having me put a deck together for you, please leave a comment down below. Even if you've already done it before, I'm happy to put more decks together and keep my brain working. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. Godspeed.